Yeah, well,
But I mean,
being
yeah,
self-conscious isn't a bad thing necessarily. It just
no,
means that you're
not at all.
conscious with how things are going. And
That's right.
I'm looking at you instead of at the camera. I'm going to look at the camera now. And
Okay.
so I'm
Yeah.
going to say, welcome to my other's keeper. I'm here with my sister Glynnis, and she and I are going to talk about the automatic negative thoughts that hit our minds, and how we can get around them or negate them, or whatever word you want to use. So
Mhm.
she and I were born in the same house. We had the same parents. We are 3 years apart in age, but we had very different circumstances in our growing up. So because of that, she and I have probably some similar aunts, but then some that will be very different because of our personal perspective of how we grew up. So
Yeah.
do you want me to start off, or did you want to start off with a few of yours that you've thought of?
Um, um, I can start with a few, I guess. I can
Okay.
start with a few.
Okay.
Um, just to kind of to flow off of what Kim has introduced. I was molested by our father as a teenager. So um, that has left me with a lot of self-talk and these ants that are more internalized as regards my value as a person, my value even as a female person, that Kim may or may not have experienced, or she may have experienced in different ways or from different origins. Um, but that's kind of where mine ended up coming from. Also, that my father very much had a preference between the two of us, and unfortunately, I was the preferred child. Um, and I think Kim has talked in a previous video about um, messages, direct verbal messages that she got from our father that I obviously never received. But up until he passed, up until the last months and years of his life, I was still very much his favored, blessed child, and that was not always an encouragement to me. That yeah, very much. Um,
Yeah.
I it's not like I was daddy's little favorite girl. I was daddy's girl for very different reasons, and that yeah,
The
that
grooming
just
started young, that's for
the
sure.
grooming started very young. Yes,
Yeah.
I was his little fishing partner when I was like 8 or 9. But even then, as teenager and even into my adulthood, I was still his, favored. You
You
know,
were the
he,
focus.
I was the focus.
Yeah.
And Kim has said numerous times over the years that she knew it and she felt it. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even in most recent years, when when you would have conversations with him and he would
Mhm.
ask about me and everything about me and what's Glynnis doing and where's
And
okay.
as per
I'm
your request, I
sorry.
told him almost nothing, so, yeah.
Yeah,
It just is,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, the relationship that you 2 had was so toxic. It was just,
yeah. It was.
for
Yeah.
those who haven't been through that type of thing, they would have
Mhm.
no clue as to the depth of the depravity that this man
That's
had.
right. Yeah,
At the same
exactly.
time, where Glennis found life very difficult because she was the focus, I found life difficult because she was the focus. I was being
Yeah,
ignored. So I had more of an emotional detachment, or an emotional neglect from
mhm.
our parents, because I'm pretty sure on some level, mom definitely knew something was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that she knew exactly what was going on.
She
Um,
did. At one point when I was 15, she got into my diary
oh,
and read diary entries that I had spelled it out in just because I needed to put it somewhere.
well, for
And
sure.
she got into that and read it. So she knew, like, intimately, like she knew specifically when I was 15.
Wow.
And I remember laying awake one night and they were having a very heated argument in the living room after I'd gone to bed, and just her confronting him. She's 15 years old, and yeah. So yeah, she had known from then that something very specific.
Did she think that was the end of it then, or like because of the confrontation?
I really do believe that she did. I
Yeah.
really do believe that she did.
I can't
Maybe
imagine the mom that we have today is a very I guess, a very different woman than the mom we
oh,
grew up with.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
like that as adults, we see that, but as children, we don't see that.
No,
But I can't
no.
imagine she would have stayed had she realized that it was still continuing.
Uh, I would go
Not
back
sure
and
on that?
forth on that,
Okay.
just because of how she grew up and the household that she grew up in,
That's true, yeah.
and what she brought forward as a parent and as a wife, and in the situation we were living in. Um, I don't think she I don't think she thought she could leave.
Mm,
I honestly, I don't think she
right.
believed that
Yep,
she had anywhere to go. I don't think
yep.
she could have left, even if she
Nope.
had wanted to.
And actually,
So,
I think you're exactly right. Um,
yeah.
when I talk to women, I do my mental health presentations in a wide variety of places, and I have been
Mhm.
to one of the women's shelters. Actually, I've been to 2 women's shelters in Saskatoon, and at
Mhm.
one of them, the first thing I told the ladies as I looked around the room, because they all looked so defeated.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I said, "You know what? First of all, you need to know I am really, really proud of each and every one of you because you're here not because things were okay in your life. You're here because
Yeah.
you needed to leave a bad situation and you did
That's
it.
right.
My
Yeah.
mom didn't have that strength,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
didn't know that she could leave
That's
until
right.
dad was arrested, in which point
That's
she
right.
still didn't know she could leave. Her brother said, "If you're not here by supper time, I'm coming to get you."
I'm coming
Otherwise,
to
I
get
don't
you.
think she'd have left.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I don't think she would have. I don't
Yeah,
think she would have. I think the only reason that she did even then is because she was forced to. I mean,
yeah.
that situation had changed and had erupted so badly
Oh,
that
yeah.
she was just not given the choice anymore.
Right, right.
It was that was taken away from her.
Yeah,
But at the
and
same time, it was definitely something that needed to happen though.
for sure.
For
Yeah.
all of us. Yeah.
But having grown up the way we did, I was actually very angry with her for the first while, that she left. Because in our family, you don't leave a bad situation, you fight through
No,
it, right?
that's right. You put the
And,
smile on and you just make it good. Yep.
that's right. Yep.
Yep.
And it was only after she left when she and I, like I said, we only had each other, that she opened up to me as to some of the problems that as a child I hadn't seen in the relationship.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, my perspective was blown wide open when I was 15
Yeah.
or 16, and,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the year I turned 16 that she left.
Yes,
So
it
it was
was. Yeah,
yeah,
it was. Yeah.
and,
Because that was the
that was
spring that, yeah. Yeah. Because
yeah,
that was the spring that I got married
yeah,
and I was
that's right.
19. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really rough year. Anyway,
It really kind of was. It really kind of was.
so having
Uh,
all of that as background, let's talk about some
yeah.
of our automatic negative thoughts because all of
Right.
that feeds into our negative self-talk today even, and we are in our
Yeah.
50s. You know,
Yeah.
like, we aren't
Exactly.
spring chickens
Exactly.
anymore, you know?
No. No. We're not.
And each of us have done a lot of healing over the years when it comes
Hmm.
to how we approach our own relationships, how we approach ourselves,
Hmm.
um, whether or not we've forgiven ourselves, our significant
Right.
other, our parents, so on and
Yeah,
so
the
forth.
offenders, whoever around us, yeah, that may need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Even
Yeah.
our children, how we interact
Oh,
with our kids,
absolutely.
totally
Absolutely.
to do with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, part of dad having such a fixation on Glynnis is I never felt like I was enough.
Right.
And, today I'm glad I wasn't enough, but it left such a scar on me that just in general, I never thought I was pretty enough. He actually
Mhm.
took me to the doctor one day, and he was a very good-looking young doctor, and
Mhm.
the doctor was I can't remember what he was talking about. I think it was just a general physical or whatever, and the doctor's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
come on, isn't she too fat? Isn't she just too chubby? Isn't sh" and he was talking about how awful I was, and he just
Oh my
wanted me to look bad to this very attractive doctor. So,
oh, wow.
yeah, isn't
Oh, I
that
had
nice
no idea.
as a young
Oh,
teen?
lovely. I had no idea. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's one thing I
That's
don't talk about a
yeah.
lot.
No. Yeah, and I don't blame you. That's,
So
yeah. I see, and this is something that Kim introduced as well, is that she and I are going to have very different perspectives on very different aspects of our lives. I
yeah,
don't have her memories.
no,
Okay. She doesn't have my memories. We will remember the same incident in different ways because we have come from it
absolutely.
from different perspectives. So
Exactly. I
yeah,
mean,
she has memories of conversations like that with him that I simply don't.
well, and you
Right?
weren't there, so I mean, you
No,
wouldn't.
exactly. Yeah. But
But at the same time, it's yeah, those automatic negative thoughts start out with you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you are scatterbrained, you're not smart enough, especially with mathematics. He used to
yeah,
help me do homework by
mhm,
screaming at me how to do math.
yeah.
And
I remember that. I remember that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I would just be bawling my face off, and he's like, "Just pay
Mhm.
attention, do this." So again, I'm
Yeah.
not smart enough,
Yeah.
like all of those things. So over
Hmm.
the years, I've had to learn to combat that. Like I said, we've grown, we've done a lot of learning and a lot of healing. And
Hmm.
now those aren't thoughts in my mind anymore. Those are now what are
Yeah.
called intrusive thoughts. So they'll show up like
Oh,
that
okay.
and then they're
Yeah.
gone because
Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of therapy and a lot
Yeah.
of healing. And my
That's
husband
right.
is flipping amazing,
Yours
so
too, huh?
I know,
Well,
right?
mine are fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
at least this
he
one.
kind of treats you like a queen. It's kind of nice.
A little bit, little bit, little bit. Yeah. No,
Anyways,
there's, yeah,
so
yeah.
so when it comes to my automatic negative thought of you're not enough, it's like, what am I not
Mhm.
enough of? I'm
Yeah.
actually too much for some people. So I'm not
Yeah.
enough by any
That's,
stretch.
yeah.
And I'm not pretty. Well, let's see. When you look at international not icons of beauty, when you look at international standards, there's something called the golden ratio.
Yeah.
And when you look at bone structure and all of that, by bone structure standards, you and I have
Mhm.
like the perfect
The
bone structure.
ideal. That's
Yes,
right. Face
exactly.
shape and symmetry and
Yeah,
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 and and
exactly.
and just proportion of features to face size and yes,
Yeah,
we absolutely do.
yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
absolutely
So
do.
these types
Yeah.
of things,
Yeah.
like I said, they've become um, intrusive thoughts
Intrusive. Thoughts. Yeah,
versus
yeah,
permanent residence in my brain. You know,
yeah.
the
Mhm.
scatterbrain thing, though, for me, um, is still a thing, and it's getting worse because with bipolar
Mhm.
disorder, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a regenerative process, it's a
Right.
degenerative process. So as
Yeah.
life goes on, things will
Mhm.
slowly get worse and worse. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I'm going to be an absolute wreck by the time I'm 70, but
Yeah.
it just means that it probably won't get a whole lot better you know
Right. Right. Yeah. Now
so
both Kim and I have ADHD. As
we both found out in
very
our 40s.
yes, and very late diagnosed.
Yeah,
So have both of us gone through childhood, school years, young adulthood, parenthood, and into our adult years, undiagnosed and untreated. Um, so between the alphabet soup of letters behind our name,
which have nothing to
you
do
know,
with PhD.
no, nothing at
No.
all, nothing like that. Nope. I have ADHD. I have CPTSD, complex PTSD. I also have. I I used to think it was seasonal affective disorder, but I think I have come to understand that it's really more generalized anxiety disorder (GAD).
Mm, mhm.
Um, yeah, and just your basic run of the mill clinical depression.
Yeah,
So yeah, so these are the things that we grew up, confronting against, that were working against us in things like being scatterbrained, and having poor memory of things like that, and poor spatial memories, and poor, or rather, spatial perception. Those things are very, very common in ADHD,
yeah.
the executive function disorders, that we definitely experience, and that I still experience. I mean, I take my medications, and I still can't put some of it together.
Well, and we're recording this today. This isn't gonna be live, but when we were supposed to start recording, I had totally forgotten we were doing this. And that's part of executive function is time blind. I
Yep.
knew in my brain that this had to happen, but
Mhm.
it just wasn't in my thought. I
Yeah.
was in Saskatoon, so I was in the
Mhm.
city, I was doing things, and every time I would drive by something, do I have to do something here? I was very much
Right.
in the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, being in the moment is really good, unless you have something you
Mhm.
have to head toward that's
And that's
time
right.
sensitive.
Yeah,
So that makes
yeah,
it a little more of a
ADHD.
challenge.
Yeah, ADHD has two times a day: now and not now. Now and not now. That's it.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
So
so I
another
think, yeah.
intrusive thought, or I guess automatic
Mhm.
negative thought, for me is because I'm not working anymore. I started out adult life as a hairdresser. I
Mhm.
then had 2 babies very quickly together, like 14
Mhm.
months apart.
Mhm.
And after that, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna be an at-home mom, and I'm gonna take
That's
care of
right.
my babies." I had every intention of being the
Yeah,
best at-home mom possible, and
that's right.
I went around the bend. It was just
Yeah.
not something I could do. I needed the adult
Mhm.
contact. I needed
Yes.
the adult company, and,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that being a mom wasn't enough. It was that
Right.
being a mom to people I couldn't communicate with was too
Right.
difficult for me.
Yeah.
So, first of
Yeah.
all, then the aunt became, "You're a bad mom."
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that was a big one for me. Big,
Yeah.
big, big one
I
for me.
in ways, I still feel that one, because I made some very, very regrettable choices and very regrettable, just terrible, terrible actions that I did with my kids and around surrounding raising my kids, and I have deep, deep regret,
Yeah,
about a lot of their childhood years. So yeah,
yeah.
I still wear that one, that I have been a bad mom, but
Okay, so now what would you do to combat that thought? Because I've
um
talked with my kids about this, and I've
yeah.
learned to deal with a little bit. So, how would
Yeah.
you if I were to come to you and say that to you, what would you say to me?
Mhm. Um, like if you were to tell me, Glennis,
Yeah,
I've been a bad
I
mom.
think I'm a bad mom. I
Um,
think I haven't done it right.
um, I something that I tell my that I come back with myself with is look at the children that you have now. Look at your adult children now and what kind of people they have become.
Yeah,
Not in spite of you, but
because
directly because of you and the influence you had on them and what you
yeah,
taught them. What kind of people are they? People that you can be proud of? Are they people who bless and 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 nourish your life? Are they
mhm.
people that are, well rounded? Are they, normally functioning, you know, the word is escaping me, productive
Normal is
adults?
a setting on a dryer, my friend.
Well, okay, there you go. We can narrow some of that up. But yeah, like, and that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Look at the people that you have raised, and are these people who are well adapted, um, productive members of society? You know, are
okay.
they people that you are and can be proud of? And yes,
My girls
you did that.
absolutely, and your
You know,
kids, I would say the same. Um,
yeah,
I
yeah,
always swore I
they
would
did.
never make the same mistakes my parents did. I made all new
Oh,
creative mistakes,
that's
you
right.
know,
That's right. Yeah.
and
No, I
my
didn't make the
daughters
same.
pardon?
No, I didn't make the same mistakes. God help me, no. But no, I found all new and creative and wonderful ways to screw them up.
Absolutely, and both of my
Yeah.
girls do have mental illnesses. They
Mhm.
know about their mental illnesses so much earlier than I did. And,
Yeah.
one of them takes medication for it, one of them doesn't. The one who
Mhm.
does, she doesn't have the side effects that the other one does. The other
Right.
one tried medication, she tried going through all of that, and the side effects were
Yeah.
so debilitating that she
Mhm.
simply had to say, "You know what? I'm gonna have to go with behavior modification.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go
Exactly.
with changing my surrounding, making sure I'm around
That's right.
people I can be around." She's not
Mhm.
scared of life,
Right.
wonderful,
It
which
is
is
wonderful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, there are things that she cannot get herself to do, like drive, for example.
Right. Yeah.
So you know what? I love it that she doesn't drive, because
Yeah.
that means I get to spend a half an hour driving her to work each and
That's right.
every day, or driving her home,
Yeah.
and
You get that specific time
how
with
many
her.
people get that concentrated alone time with their adult kids?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that. So
Yeah.
things that would be an ant would be that my daughter doesn't drive. Things that are a blessing because of it is that we get to spend time together that
Yeah.
otherwise
Right.
we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, I think
Yeah. I
for
think that's
all of
what.
these, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah. I was just gonna say, like with my kids, I have three adult kids. One is turning 30 next month. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, he's 30. Like,
Yeah, that
okay,
makes
in three
sense.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Anyway, so yeah, I have my three adult kids, and two of them, my younger two, I know. Um, One has my daughter in the middle is has been diagnosed with ADHD, but know who she again also is not medicated, because her physiology doesn't just doesn't allow for it. She metabolizes medications and such very quickly. So
Mm,
for her to keep up with a medication that would suit her all through a day, it's that's next to impossible. She
yeah.
finds it very difficult.
Yeah.
My youngest son, who actually manages to have the same name as my second husband. Did I
Which
plan
is
that
why
one
I
or
thought
not?
Cam had the
That's right.
accident and not her
That's
son
right.
Cameron. And
That's
yeah,
right.
that's where
Yeah.
my
So,
confusion came.
yeah.
So yes.
But then I was talking so fast. I gotta go by. I wasn't real clear about it.
Yeah.
But uh, but my son Cameron, we do very strongly believe has ADHD as well. He's never been assessed professionally or properly, and never been like formally diagnosed.
Hmm.
Um, but he will even say he said as much over Christmas that yeah, I pretty much accept it. Yeah, I do have ADHD.
Yeah.
Um, my oldest son,
Yeah.
I was, it was suggested that could he possibly have ADHD, like when he was like in school, like he was in like first grade, second grade, and I just kind of dismissed it, whatever. So I, in knowing myself and kind of my mental state, and seeing my daughter Kay and my younger son, um, and kind of knowing their characters, I'm not entirely convinced that G necessarily is ADHD, but he does have other, affective, like generalized anxiety. He also has, you know, he takes other medications as well for mental health. But I don't think I would identify and point to it and say G has ADHD. I don't
Right.
think I would do that.
Right. My older child just recently was asking me if I thought she might have ADHD, and I'm like, no. And she went to a psychiatrist, and I want to slap this person because she said, "Oh, you can't have ADHD because you did university and you've been so successful in life." And I'm like, "Okay, did you tell her about your mother who has a double degree in
Yeah,
biblical and intercultural
yeah,
studies and a teaching certificate?"
yeah,
Like, the woman is
exactly.
not uneducatable, right?
No,
And just
no, she's
I
not.
cannot believe a mental health professional said that. And I'm like, "Okay, next time somebody even approaches that, please tell them about me and give them my phone number so I can rip them a new one."
Exactly,
I'll get a little
exactly.
passionate about that. We'll talk. Do you know what, Glennis?
No,
We'll
but it's
talk
true.
about mental health on a different stream, because you
Yeah,
and I do have a lot we can talk about that way.
yes, I
So
think
let's
we
just
should.
keep this one to ants,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
otherwise this recording would be like 4 or 5, 10 hours long.
days
So
long. Yeah.
let's try to keep this a hair more under control. But no, thank you so much for pointing out the fact that watch your adult children. The only
Mhm.
sad thing is for the parents who were good parents, and then they have children who grow up to be addicts. Now,
Yes, yeah,
part of my addictive behavior has been spending,
yeah,
food. Those are the two big,
hmm,
big, big ones that I
yeah,
had. Um,
yeah,
and those with medication. And
hmm,
that's what some of these ants are. I spend too much money. Like, I don't have a
Yeah.
job, so I'm not able to put money into our finances. So I don't have a
Right.
T4 job is how I describe it. I'm an artist.
Yeah,
Yeah, I painted
exactly.
those.
Yeah. That's
Um,
yes, she did. Yeah.
and I'm I do tutoring for ESL, so
Mhm.
English as a subsequent
Mhm.
language. So I do those
Mhm.
still. But it
Mhm.
doesn't bring in a lot of money. So
That's right.
especially
Yeah.
in these financial times with
Yeah.
inflation being what it is and businesses not
Mhm.
being able to give the types of raises that they want to and so on and
That's
so
right.
forth. It's just has become that
Yeah.
much tighter and tighter and tighter over the years. And
Yes.
so that's one of my ants is I don't contribute enough to this
That's
household.
exactly one of mine. Yeah, that is exactly one of mine as well. I feel useless. I've
Yeah.
been retired, unofficially retired, from working for about 6 years,
Yep.
just because of the anxiety that it caused in me. No, I didn't have the same devastating experience that you had when
Mhm.
you left your last job. But in the ways that it affects me is that when I want to think, I need to contribute to my family. I need to contribute to society. I need to be useful. That's I think the biggest ant surrounding that experience of not being able to work or not working is that I just feel useless. I'm a drain. I don't contribute anything. And I would love to be able to do that. More than anything in my world, I would love to be able to do that. But I just can't.
So
Because
what do
even
you do to
when
combat that particular ant?
I
Or have you not found anything yet?
I kind of have in that it's as long as my desire is I need to feel useful, over top of that, overshadowing that is it's healthier for me that I don't. Because when I spend any amount of time considering, looking through job ads and looking through listings and such and looking for, oh, I could apply for that. Oh, but then I would have to do, oh, but then I would have to tell them, oh, but if I got the job and then I would do, and it just sends me off, right? So that's kind of the biggest defeat and stomp on that old ant is it's healthier this way for me. It's just
Something I'm
mentally
going to
healthier
suggest
for me to be there. Yeah.
Something I'm gonna suggest for you, along with this whole idea that connection is what heals people.
Hmm.
For the last 12 years, I've been presenting with the Schizophrenia Society about my mental health,
Yeah.
and it's only like 2 or 3 times a month, and it's only for like
Hmm.
an hour at a time. So there and it's a pre-written script that I use, my partnership
Yeah.
program script, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So all I
Yeah.
have
You
to
said
do is
you said
read.
that to me earlier. Yeah. You said that to me
Exactly.
recently.
So
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that, if you do have a major depressive disorder, that sort of thing, check with your
Hmm.
local schizophrenia society partnership program, and they
Okay.
might have a similar thing for you. In
Yeah.
Saskatoon, the person who's in charge of the Saskatoon area uh, is a guy I used to party with before either of us was diagnosed. We had a lot of fun.
Wonderful. There you go.
I used to do his hair, now he has none.
Yeah.
But
Even
no,
better.
it's great because I mean, there's a whole conversation we don't have to have, right?
Hmm.
Because we
Hmm.
do have this that background, right?
Yes.
So something
Yeah.
that can help you is maybe
Hmm.
actually something you have done that I haven't done is you
Okay.
volunteer with your local med school to be a
Yes.
patient when they're doing their international things. Isn't that right?
Yes. Well, when they actually have discontinued that program,
Oh,
unfortunately, COVID did a
probably during
number on it,
COVID.
and yes, and they just never restarted it. They just were not able to do the medical center.
Mm,
It's basically a simulated patient situation.
right.
And I had volunteered to be one of the patients. And we would go through weeks and weeks and weeks of studying scripts and histories. And these are the points that we need for you to communicate to this doctor. And they're going to be judged on how they respond and how they, resolve this, whatever. Okay.
Right. So
Um,
that type of
but
activity, how
yeah,
did that make you feel about yourself? Your ability to contribute?
it's spectacular. It was
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal for me to be able to do that, to feel like I was accomplishing something, I was helping, I was contributing. It was valuable experience. I mean, yeah, it was something that I could offer and give that didn't cost me anything. And it cost me, a day of my life from whatever the,
Exactly.
couple of
Yep.
weeks of hours of preparation before, you know, but yeah, but at the same time, there were no expectations on
But,
my
my
performance, you know. Yeah, it was structured. It has to
work
look
for
this
you.
way, and
I just
this,
know how
this.
some oh, you have frozen.
Oh,
Maybe
you
I
froze there for a
froze.
second. Yeah,
Oh, so
both of
did
us
you.
did, I
Okay.
think.
Between the 2 of
Yeah,
us, we were
yeah,
Elsa
yeah,
uh, yeah.
and
Anyway,
yeah,
so,
never what?
um, in Calgary where you're at, do they have community associations, et cetera, where you can volunteer and do some stuff?
I would presume that they do. Our hospital here in the city is a teaching hospital, so absolutely they will have some kind of in service, some kind of community
No, I'm
outreach.
thinking like neighborhood association rather than
Oh,
say medical.
sorry. I don't know. I have never looked into it. That's
Okay.
definitely something I can look into, our neighborhood association. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that's just something I've never thought to pursue. But yeah,
yeah.
but
Well,
no,
that's
I guess that's kind of is part and parcel to the my, I guess, overarching most major aunt is
mhm,
um, is my intrinsic value. Like I said, when
yeah,
I was growing up, my value, the only value that I was ever taught that I had was what I could give.
yeah,
Um, and that's really the only value that I ever thought that I had, even after my first marriage ended, and those months and years, the years that I was single after that, I
mhm,
made some very, very deeply regrettable choices.
mhm,
Um, but again, based on that value that I was left with, that's all I had to offer a guy. That's
yeah. See,
that's
now
all I had.
that was my thing for so many years.
Yeah,
You had it
yeah,
because it was put onto you, I had it because it was taken from me, right?
right,
You
right.
were
You were
assigned
replacing that
that.
value.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was trying to catch up, and,
right.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
I did. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, it's the way it goes
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Fortunately,
Exactly.
my husband and I, we've been together for 33 years now, and,
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was pregnant with my middle one when you got married. I was there,
Yes, you
he
were.
was at your wedding, but
Yes,
not
she
really.
was. It's in the picture.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so in that way, I have had one person that I've had to focus the intimate part of my life with, which has been
Right.
great. And
Yes.
because I've only had to work with that one person,
Hmm.
um, I don't have to worry about being attractive for everybody.
Yeah.
But
That's
still, the
right.
ant in my brain is, "You're not pretty
Hmm.
enough. You're too
Yeah.
fat. You
Yeah.
are squinty when you smile.
Yeah.
I'm getting wrinkly now that I'm in my 50s." Things like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm losing some weight, so it's even the skin is starting to sag even more, and I'm noticing
Hmm.
as I smile, I don't know think you can see them,
Yeah.
but when I look closely in the mirror, closer than everybody else in the world would look,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's the
And
other thing is, what's the
yeah.
perspective you're looking at yourself from? Um,
Exactly. Yeah. And along those
that's
same
a big
physical
part of it.
lines, this color, this is that's not out of a bottle. That's natural.
You
I
have the
started to
most
go gray.
beautiful white hair. Oh, I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do get complimented on every time I go get a haircut. Whoever it is that's cutting my hair. Oh, is this your natural color? Yes, it's my natural color. It looks so good on you. Thank you, thank you. Um, but I really started to find the first grays when I was like 25,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
you were
okay,
really
fine.
young.
I was really quite young.
Yeah.
But then into my probably into my late 30s, I started to really want to color it even more specifically. I've got a hair now in my lipstick. There it goes. Okay. So 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 I guess toward my later 30s, I wanted to color it specifically to I don't want to look that old.
Yeah.
And so I just kept it colored. I tried blonde. It was a failed experiment because I just nope. And
And that
bronze
was quite the
and
lovely shade of duck.
oh
You and
yeah,
I both know
and green. You left me green once.
no, I never
Yes,
colored
you
your hair.
did. Yes, you did.
Did
Yes,
I?
you did. You left me
I
green, and
blocked
then we had to go. Yeah, because then I remember having to go shopping at some of your salon supply places for some purple something to cover up the
red. It
yeah
would have been red.
the red. It
Yeah.
was whatever it was, but yeah, it was definitely
Okay, I could see that happening.
yeah
Yeah.
it was something. But anyway, no, so I tried the blonde. That was a kind of a failed experiment. But then I settled for a bunch of years on a dark auburn because there is the red hair in our family.
Yep.
Kim wears so well
Yeah.
that it really it suited with skin tones and such, and it suited. I was very very happy with it.
Yeah. And
But
you look
then
really great in the darker hair.
yes,
Unfortunately, as we age, if you have too dark a hair, it just looks harsh, right?
yes, it does.
Also,
Yeah,
if you
it
have
really
too
does.
light of hair, it looks harsh. Like there's a difference.
Mhm.
No, no, I'm not talking your hair. I'm talking like if you would have bleached it blonde.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then that tends to look brittle and harsh.
That's
Whereas
right.
a
Yeah.
natural silver like what you have, because as well,
Mhm.
it's in great shape. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really nice and healthy. So that's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, if you were allowed, like if it was like mine is like duck feathers if I'm not careful. Like look how
Yeah.
fine that is. Like that you
Oh,
can
yeah,
see through
absolutely.
my
I've got
hair.
these. Yeah, yeah. I've got
So
these
cool.
little tiny little baby hairs right across the front of my hair, and
Yeah,
they
same.
stick out if I don't spray them down. They stick way out. It's awful. But yeah, no, it was in my early 40s, I guess, that I started to. It was when I was kind of first single again, and
Mhm.
working and then not working, and then working and then not working. It just
Yeah,
got too expensive for me to keep up coloring it.
for
And
sure.
finally, I just, you know what? I'm just so tired of this. And it's really not healthy for my hair. And I tossed around for a long time. Do I keep coloring it? Do I let it go? And then Kim, as she tells me in her experience, she says, do you have any idea how much these girls are paying to look like that?
Mhm.
Really? There it was.
Yeah.
So since
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
I would say probably for about 12 years now, I've just let my roots grow and just let the gray out. And I've got a little bit of the tiniest bit of my ash brown at the very crown of my head. But
Mm.
that's it. And that's all that's
Mhm.
left. But
See, our
that's,
mom
and then
has the
going
same
back
type
and,
of white hair, but her dark
mhm.
is like comes up from the bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah. No,
And
mine's
and
right at
my
the
hair
very top of
naturally
the
is
front.
darker
Yeah.
underneath as well. Like it's a darker
I think
red down
everybody
here
is.
than it is up
Yeah, I
here.
think everybody is because I think, like, I don't see the back of it very often, but I think if I can turn around to the camera, it's
Yeah. Yeah, like
quite a
that.
bit darker. Yeah,
Yep.
quite a bit darker like that.
It's same as
And I think
mom.
that's pretty normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's part that feeds into, I look old. I'm
Yes.
not this, little spring chicken. I'm, gray haired and I look 10 years older and
Yep.
and that's kind of those ants that stick with me is I'm not I'm not valuable. I don't contribute to my family. I'm not smart. I'm not intelligent. My husband, love him to death. My husband is a member of Mensa. Um, I, I'm just not. but, but when I was in school, my parents, um, I went through an IQ test, and it came up with a particular number, and this number to me meant nothing. Okay, but I kind of went through life, okay, understanding that maybe it's a little kind of toward the higher end of average, but I never felt like it
Yeah.
because I did so poorly in school.
Well, that
I,
would have been the
just
ADHD showing up.
exactly, and that's the thing with ADHD and even with autism and a lot of these, mental health things and a lot of these, neurodivergence, we're not
And
stupid.
we can look
We are
back at it.
not stupid. Yeah,
Yeah.
we are not stupid. We are highly intelligent people.
And that's
My
actually
husband is
what I tell
autistic.
people. People with
Yeah, yeah,
ADHD and bipolar disorder, schizophrenia are usually some of the smartest people you'll meet because they can
that's right.
grab onto those ideas like that. The problem
Concept. Yeah,
comes when they can't hold on to them.
yeah.
And that's
Or
where my
express.
younger daughter had a hard time in college. She
Yeah,
would have the ideas, she would have the answers and all of that, but then she couldn't
yeah,
hold on to them long enough to write them down in a cohesive way on a paper. And so
yeah,
that made
yeah.
life
Exactly.
very difficult at college for her, but the kid
Yeah,
is smart.
yeah,
So it
exactly.
just
And
that's not
that's
the
one of the
place for
things.
her.
Exactly. And that's why and that's what I was saying. Like, I'm intelligent, but I never went to college. I never even attempted post-secondary education. I
Mhm.
have no education. I have no
I thought you
career.
had a
I
year or
don't.
2.
I went to a year of Bible school because,
Okay.
and what else to do? And that was it.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it. You know.
And
So
then you met your
yeah,
husband.
and then my husband, and then
Yeah.
yeah, then that just kind of all was a whole other story. That might be another
That'll be a
episode.
different video.
Sure.
Yeah.
But but no, these are the things though that Cam, husband Cam now, has repeated to me and has impressed on me and constantly repeats to me that
Mhm.
I am smart, that I am creative, and that's what another thing. Like, you do your paintings and stuff. I
You
don't I don't
sew.
paint, but I sew and I do diamond art now. I do diamond
Oh,
painting now.
yeah, nice.
Yes, I do. Last spring I started. Hmm?
Those little miniatures, those little metal miniatures that you've done.
Yes, my little metal model. Yes,
God.
they were so great. But that, I guess, to me is that's that's not my own creativity. Ooh, there we go. Oh, that's fine.
Sorry,
That's fine.
coughing fit.
Yeah, but just edit
Yeah.
that part out. Yeah, get yourself together. I'll just go back and we'll
Nope, we're all good.
find
Okay.
another moment. Okay, good.
So yes, those little
So that's
miniatures are you
they're
have
so
an
much fun.
amazing eye for detail and the ability
I
to do
can't.
that.
And that's something that mom had said from when I was a littlest kid. Is I would just make the tiniest little things of like cardboard and paper and Play-Doh and just
Mhm.
little detailed things that you could never figure out. But to me, that's not. I don't consider myself creative because it's not coming out of my brain to design these things. I'm following someone else's design. I'm following someone else's pattern. I'm following
There's
someone else's.
nothing wrong with that. The
There's,
fact that you can
but
follow that is
yeah,
very good. Like,
yeah,
I'm not
and then
sure that I would be able to have the patience to follow
yeah,
that.
yeah, his
Your
patience.
ADHD has a hyperfixation,
Yes,
and hyperfixation is something that one of the ants will be,
yeah,
"I can't keep my mind on anything except
mhm,
what's really interesting to me right now."
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna ride that focus until it's gone. Yeah, but
Yep.
then of course, then yeah, I can't create things out of my own brain except a 1915 replica wedding dress.
Oh, yeah, and you made these
Yeah,
beautiful aprons, and
yeah,
you've done quilting, and, oh,
yeah,
the quilt that
yeah.
she made us for our 25th wedding anniversary is gorgeous, and it stays on our bed the whole year round.
Does it? Oh, does it
Yeah, oh,
really?
yeah, I
Well, that
love it.
because
Love it.
and this is the thing as well. Like, I mean, you'll look at your paintings and stuff and say, "Well, I could have done that wrong," and oh, I should have used that color, and oh, I didn't,
Yeah.
because I think of the quilt that I made and sent you. And it's like, okay, well, the lines are all screwy, and there's marks on it, and oh, if it gets cold, there's going to be those pen marks, and oh, yeah.
Nope. Nope, we see none of
So
that.
nope, exactly, exactly. But yeah,
And I think that's another thing
but
to with ants entirely is we see our own ants, we
yeah,
don't see someone else's.
that's
And when
right.
somebody finds us valuable, like my husband
Mhm.
finds me very valuable in the fact
Mhm.
that, yeah, I don't bring money into the house, but when he needs to decompress, when he needs to talk
Yeah.
about work, I'm smart enough to
Mhm.
understand what he's talking about because I
Yeah.
understand the processes that he's talking about. I used to work at the
Yeah.
same office in
Right.
administration. He has never worked administration in that office, but he's been there for 31 years now.
Yeah.
He's furniture there.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, it's just, I have gone through all of this design process and all of his other processes with him to the point
Mhm.
where I am able to say, okay, but look about this. What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
So I don't have a T4 job, but I
Yeah.
have the ability to speak into my husband's T4 job.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
for a while, he was working, he was overseeing about 10 people. 8 of them
Mhm.
were born outside of Canada in different countries.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, honey, this book, you need to read it. It's called
Mhm.
So You're Hired, Now What? Or You're
Okay.
Hired,
Yeah.
so Now What? And
Right. Right.
it's a book for international professionals when they come to Canada, read this book, and that will help you integrate into Canadian society. It tells you the difference between your
Okay.
society expectations of a
Yeah.
professional and our society expectations of a
Okay.
professional. I had Doug read
Perfect.
it so he would understand the outside
Yeah.
Canada perspective. And
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a very valuable book. It is
It would
excellent.
be. Oh, it
Yeah.
would be. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I think
I'm just
between and me and Cam as well. Cam is a financial analyst, um, and a financial consultant. Um, and back in my high school days, and that I had a kind of a passing interest in accounting and bookkeeping, and I did
mhm.
fairly well in accounting class and such. And at some point in my younger life, I would have thought, well, maybe if I was going to, pursue something, and maybe it would have been accounting. Okay. So I still have that kind of mindset of, the forms and the balance sheets and all this kind of stuff. So when Cam is telling me about his day and a problem that he's having, and this thing isn't working, and I did this trial balance and it's not matching with it, I can follow that conversation, right?
Exactly.
I know in general terms what he's talking about, and I can nod intelligently rather than yeah, okay, like
See
his
now,
first wife would have done. Yeah, just because I have that understanding and that bit of intelligence, you know, to be able to follow a conversation like that. And
yeah,
that's one of the things I think that I appreciate the most about Cam is that he reminds me of those things, that I know more than I think I do. And I know more
absolutely.
about more things than I think I do, or than I give myself credit for.
Yeah,
That I think is the thing. I know
I think
more than
that's
I
the
give
thing.
myself credit for.
And I think we all
Um,
do.
yes.
I
Oh,
think
we
we
definitely
all
do.
need to give ourselves a little grace,
Mhm. But like,
like,
going back to something that you said, that we see our own faults. We
mhm,
see all the problems that we have in our own ants. This is human nature. It's not got anything to do with ADHD or mental illness or mental
nope,
health or
nope,
neurodivergence. Every human being sees their own failures more acutely,
mhm.
than what other people would recognize. So
I will put a
yeah,
caveat on that. There are
yeah,
some people who are so narcissistic that they don't see themselves as making mistakes.
yes,
And that would have
I
been our
will grant
dad.
you that. Definitely, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
our father was a diagnosed sociopath. Like, just putting it out there, he was a diagnosed sociopath. So that tells you kind of a little bit about where we come from,
Yeah,
but also it gives you an idea of kind of how we approach neurodivergence and how we approach mental illness, from both sides of the equation.
yeah.
So yeah,
Now
kind of interesting.
something that, we talk about a lot in our presentations with mental health is
Mhm.
that there will be a biological component that will make you susceptible to something, but you have to
Yeah.
have a trigger to flip it.
Right.
And
Okay.
recently, like less than a year ago, we found a sister that we have with the same
Yeah.
biological dad who did not
Mhm.
have the same triggers flipped.
That's
So
right.
she does not have the same types of neurodivergence that we do. She doesn't have a lot of these same issues. She has other issues, but I mean, she
Yeah.
doesn't have the same types of ones that we do.
Right.
Her
Yeah. She
aunts
may
are
have the
totally different than ours, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. She may have the predisposition toward those things, but like you said, there's nothing, no experience in her life has triggered that, has set it off.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. See, you and I were both abused by different people in different
Mhm.
ways,
Yes. Right.
and that's something that fortunately I'm so grateful she didn't have to go through that. She's had so
Yes.
many other experiences
Absolutely. Yeah.
having
I'm
been
a little
adopted.
jealous. I'm a little jealous there, you know.
She's done a lot of
That's okay.
traveling
I know that.
and that kind of stuff, so that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's really interesting how our sister T and Kim are actually very, very similar. They look identical. Holy wow, when you see pictures of these two together, it is creepy how much these two resemble each other. It's crazy. But that they've also both traveled very well. They're both teachers. She's currently a teacher in another country. Um, but yeah, and just T and Kim have such specific similarities, and I'm just like, but I no, I did
but
okay. Well,
character-wise, though, honey, I would say that you and
yeah,
she are closer together,
you think so?
character-wise.
Yeah, I guess maybe
You
so.
know, like,
Yeah,
we may physically look the same or
yeah,
similar. We're both
yeah,
redheads.
yeah,
We're both gorgeous.
yeah.
We're both just amazing. Kidding.
Fine,
Um,
fine. No, but even just but no, even their facial features are just identical. Like it's crazy how even their features, their eyes, your mouth, the side of your mouth, everything is just so similar. It's crazy. And
yeah.
and they get that from our father's side of the genetic pool, where I
Our
get
father's
more of
mother's
my
side,
yeah,
like
I'm very much our mother's side that T does not have. So
right,
she doesn't have that influence. Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah, the physical.
okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so, character speaking, it's just that different. Um,
Yeah.
there was something else I was gonna say, and now it's poof, gone. Welcome
Gone.
to my world.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the two of us talking together, and we can go in 9 different directions and have 8 different
Oh, yeah.
conversations at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly. It's almost like dissociative identity disorder, we've got this person talking to this person.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I get in there. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I don't
how
know.
are you doing for other ants? Do you have anything else that, another one for me was that I've never been popular. We moved around so much
Yeah.
when I was growing up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
I
was
never
bullied a
learned
lot.
how to make friends. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I've always said, I never learned how, like the mechanism of how to make friends. And moving around as much as we did, it was just out of sight and out of mind. And I
Yeah,
still have that. I still carry that out of sight and
yeah.
out of mind. I mean, I have, especially now with COVID as well, people can't get together. My social life is on social media. That's it.
Yeah,
Like I don't. I'm so insulated. I'm so isolated from people right now. It's me and my husband at home, and that's it. That's
yeah,
it. Like my sister and I, we're thousands of miles apart. He and his brothers live essentially in the same kind of municipal area, and
mhm,
we see them maybe once or twice a year. Both of us are very,
yeah.
very isolated, very insulated from kind of society as a whole and from our families almost specifically. It's kind of odd. Um, but but what I have to remember about that is I'm isolated from my family for psychological reasons, emotional reasons, um,
Mhm.
even more so than just kind of geographical whatever. I
Yeah,
just never developed really close relationships
yeah.
with either side of our families for very psychological and very emotional reasons. I still
Well, there's
carry
a
that
few
as well.
cousins on dad's side we developed good relationships with.
Yep.
Like, his
Yep.
next older brother, the 2
Hmm.
kids there, J and
Yep.
K. Um,
Yep.
K and I are the only 2 kids besides T now with red hair for 3
That's right.
generations.
That's right.
And, so J and K we used to play with them a ton when we were little.
Oh, all the
That's also
time.
because
Yeah.
dad was isolating mom from her family,
Right.
which is
Right.
part of the abusive part of, domestic abuse.
That's
Um,
right.
so being able to say, "Okay, yeah, we do still have these cousins and stuff like that," and I'm
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
fairly close with Kay. He,
Yeah.
yeah, he and his wife and Doug and I have met numerous times where they live,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
wonderful. Um,
Yeah.
Jay
Yeah.
lives out on the island, and he's a little tougher to get to,
Yeah.
but,
Yes.
otherwise, we get along well. Um,
And then our aunt's boys, D and F, we got not as often as with J and K, but I mean
Yeah.
you know, often, I guess the next, you know, kind of the next most, I guess.
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
and so most of the
yeah.
cousins we got to know best were on dad's side.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
my mom's
exactly.
oldest brother lives
Hmm.
half an hour from me.
That's
His
right.
younger
That's right.
son lives half an hour in a slightly different direction from me,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
we see each other
Yeah.
maybe once every couple of years,
Hmm.
you
Is
know,
Peter
like that.
still? I thought he was still in Alberta.
No, no,
I was
no.
sure that
The
Pete was
older
still in
son is
Alberta.
in Alberta, the younger son is here.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah,
older son has owns a business in just outside of Edmonton.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah,
knew that he was closer to you. I knew that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
that's
gonna
for
hear a
fun.
whole pile of initials here because I don't
Yeah.
want to be putting other people's information out without their
That's
permission.
right. Yeah.
Like
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with
And we
both
just,
of
I
my
mean, we just
daughters
happened. Yeah. Yeah.
both of
And
my
we just
daughters, I
happened to
asked
name my
if
son Cameron, so that's okay. I'll let that go. That's fine.
pardon?
I do. I mean, we happen to name my son Cameron, but we'll just that's fine. That was
Yeah,
part of the conversation. That's all right.
yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
that's the thing is I've talked to both of my daughters, and neither of them really wants to be part of this, but at the same
okay,
time, they don't mind if I talk about them in relation to me,
right,
because it's
right,
my story, happens to involve them.
exactly. That's right.
My
Yeah,
mom
and they are. Yeah, they are part of the chain.
Yeah, and our mom has 0 desire to be any part of this whatsoever,
Okay.
except how she relates to who we are. Like saying, "My
Oh,
mom
okay.
did this," but at the same
Yeah,
time, I'm not gonna talk about things from my mom
yeah,
because
right.
I want to respect her ability to
Yeah,
stay separate, you know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
I'm not going to
but
tell her story because that's her story to tell. And yeah, yeah,
exactly,
and
that's
that's
exactly
yeah,
right.
that's yeah, and
Yeah,
I've been trying. I've tried very hard not to. Okay, talk about person, but not giving identifiable, you
yeah,
know, kind of details or anything like his business or exactly where or
yeah,
things like yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway,
but
so
no, that's
let's see.
yeah, yeah.
So
I guess
mhm?
no. Go ahead.
The not popular thing was, I think, something you and I have both shared because we
I
moved
think
around a
so.
lot. You
Yeah,
said you had a hard time making friends in general. I
yeah.
make friends like that. I don't know how to
Yes.
keep
Yeah.
them. My
There, okay.
problem
There's that too. Yeah.
is the long term. There are
Right.
some friends that I have had over the years that have become very
Hmm.
good friends, uh,
Yeah.
that, from one of the places that we lived where we went to Bible camp for quite a few
Hmm.
years, I have
Okay. Yeah.
maintained a lot of friendships there
Yeah.
because my husband and I went back there to work as staff.
That's
Our
right.
daughters went there
That's right
as
too.
campers,
A couple years ago. That's
so I
right.
was able to reconnect with a lot of those people, and
That's great.
that was wonderful. That is really wonderful. I love that.
Oh, it is. Oh, it absolutely is.
So,
Yeah. No, that's something I just have never been able to, never been able to maintain either. Is long term. Like on social media, is like, oh, okay, I knew the person when I was, in grade three. He's a friend on
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah,
But that's not to say that we have any kind of ongoing, you know, phone her up and oh, hey, how's things? How's kids? That's not the kind of it's kind of really at arm's length kind of acquaintance
mhm,
relationship. I know who you are and generally kind of where you're at and what you do, but I don't know anything that's gone on of your life between the ages of 20 and 50.
right.
I was at your wedding. Okay, yeah, and then you
Yeah,
moved to
exactly.
Ontario and off you go.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've never been able to maintain either is long term friendship. Um,
Well,
and yeah,
I've had people
I
come
think
back into my life after long periods of
yeah,
time,
yeah,
like those friends from that particular little town.
yeah,
I didn't see them from high school until my
right.
mid-30s or so, when
That's
my
right.
girls were really little, and then Doug and I went
Hmm.
back to work at the camp. So I hadn't
Yeah,
seen them in 15 or 20 years by then.
no,
Um,
exactly. That's
so
exactly
I reconnected with them.
right.
And
Right.
something I think we need to do is purposefully reconnect. Um,
Hmm.
my best friend for a long, long, long time, um, don't know exactly what happened,
Yep.
but, she just disappeared out of my life.
Yeah.
a year
Yeah.
ago.
You just poked one of my aunts. You just poked it hard, to go back and deliberately reconnect with these people. And
Hmm.
it's like instant fear. What will they think of me? Right? What do they know about me? What will they
Yeah.
think of me? They know about what happened.
Yeah.
They heard on the news, when it happened.
Yeah. It
What
was
will
on
they
the
think?
national news. People
Yes, it was.
made the national. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but
That's
that,
a
like I
big
said,
thing.
just I have that little amp because
Yeah.
that's the first one that comes up is what will they think of me? I'm
Well,
not like
I'm going
them.
to help you
I'm
with
not as
this one, I think.
successful as yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
help you with this one.
Yes,
Um,
thanks.
you have that aunt. What are they going to think of me? They're going to think that you are strong, that you have lived a good life, because today you're healthy. Today your mind is firm. Today you have a successful marriage. You know, that's what they need to know. They don't need
Yeah.
to know all of the ups and downs in the middle, because that's not who you are anymore.
No,
It's like trying to rob somebody's house. If they don't live there anymore, it doesn't matter,
no,
right?
yeah. Okay. Thank
And
you
that,
for that.
yeah,
Thank
you're welcome, because that's not who you are anymore. And
No,
I
it's
would
not.
hate to be judged as the person
Mm,
I was when I was 20. I was not a nice
exactly.
person. I was
Mm,
really not a good
yeah.
friend. I
No,
was not a good girlfriend. Well, 20 I was, but before
I,
that,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
before Douglas, I was a terrible girlfriend. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of it was to do with the ants. I'm not good
Yeah.
enough. I'm not pretty enough. And
Yeah.
only what I could do for a person is why they would
Yeah.
want me.
That's right.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, the connection that I have with my husband, Tommy on the lifeboat, he's the captain of the
Okay.
lifeboat. And his
That's right.
whole thing is connection is the opposite of addiction. It's also
Yeah.
the opposite of depression. It's also the
Mhm.
opposite of anxiety in a lot of cases. It's the
Mhm.
opposite of a lot of the negativity in
That's
our
right.
world. And that's why I have this channel, is so
Yeah.
that we can connect, and people who don't know us necessarily might say, "Oh, I see myself in that person." You
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here
Yeah.
and say life is all roses and
Oh,
candies.
Lord,
It's
no.
not
No.
by
No,
any
it is
stretch.
not. No.
But
Not by a
I've
long
got
shot.
a good life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I have a
Exactly.
a solid roof over my head. I
Mhm.
have a husband who thinks that I am the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, I have 2 adult daughters who are very, very happy in what's going on in their lives, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
The people I surround myself with really do care for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
so I may not have a lot of friends, but the friends I have are good ones.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
where, and that's what I'm gonna say to you, honey, is that you if you choose to reconnect specifically with somebody, like, just go for coffee with an old girlfriend and say, "You know what?
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
together. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what's going on now in our
Yeah.
lives." We don't have to rehash, unless you
No.
wanna talk about old together times and just
Right.
rehash the fun that you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
in high school, like,
Reminiscing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I know there are some people on your social media that you do have from high school, um,
Yep. Yep.
and, I don't ha I have no idea where they're at, but, just say,
Yeah.
"Hey, let's go for coffee."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of them in particular is in the same country as T, so that's a little,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
hard to
yeah.
reach, but
Yeah, she's a bit tougher to reach.
a little bit
But,
less effort.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's just something that all of
Mhm.
us have our aunts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even the people that we think have a perfect life, nobody has a perfect life,
Oh, they don't. No, they
you
absolutely
know?
don't.
And they will
Yeah.
have maybe even some of the same aunts that we do,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I have
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada."
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
gonna
all
tell
for
you
big.
something. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see me. Yeah, you should be able to see me. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Something that I learned quite a few years ago, and it actually works. There is science behind it. If you are feeling unconfident about something, or like you're not good enough, do a superhero stance for 5 minutes straight.
For 5 minutes straight.
5 minutes. So
I
you'd
I
be
can't
back
sit in
here
this.
like Superman.
Yeah, I can't sit in a chair for 5 minutes straight and hold a pose. Like, honey, I have ADHD. I don't do anything for 5 minutes straight.
Well, do it. Try doing it for 2 minutes. Listen to a song,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
a piece of music, and for that entire
Right.
time, listen to like a really empowering piece of music. I
Yeah.
don't know what you
Okay.
find really
Yeah.
empowering, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah.
but just and chest out, head up. You don't have to have your arm up, but I mean
Yeah.
something that makes you look like powerful
Yeah.
and
Or feel
smile, even if you're
powerful.
not feeling it.
That's
That's the
right.
that's
Yeah.
the
Or
key.
feel powerful. Make you take a pose that makes you feel powerful. Yeah.
That's right. That's the key. Your
Yeah.
body, your brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. Did
Okay.
you know
Yes.
that?
Yeah. I've heard actors talk about that. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your brain doesn't know it's not real.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Your brain doesn't know. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you and that's where the positive self-talk makes a huge difference, you
Mm-hmm.
know, huge difference. So if you
Yeah.
stand and you're going, "Oh, I'm so scared to do this. I'm so scared to do this." If you start your day, hands on your hips, chest out, head up, and just for the amount of time that a song is playing, or
Yeah.
2 songs if you wanna count to 2 songs.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how much scientifically they have studied. People who do that are more successful. They do better in job interviews. They
Okay.
work harder. Their acuity is just that much faster
Right.
because I'm not kidding. You need to try that. And we should get back
I
together
will.
and talk about this, in
Yeah.
maybe a
Yeah.
week or 2
Yeah.
and see if that
Okay.
has changed
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Because
Because
your
it does.
your mind doesn't know it's not real. Your brain doesn't
Yep.
know it's not real.
It's
Yeah.
like with
Huh.
anxiety, your brain doesn't know the difference between happy
Yeah.
anxiety and scary anxiety. So
That's right.
Christmas, for a lot of people, is anxiety ridden, even though it's gonna be fun, right?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
brain is going, "Oh, this is big, this is big, this is big,"
Yeah. Exactly.
but they
Big.
don't
It's
know happy
important
big
because
versus
it's
sad big.
adrenaline. That's right.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's what you're putting into your body. So,
Okay.
my younger daughter and I driving home from work today, we're talking about, um no, maybe it was you and I. Yes, it might have been you and I talking earlier today. For every negative thought, you need to input no, it was my daughter, sorry. You need to
It was.
input
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
positive thoughts,
Okay. Okay.
3 of them.
All
So,
right.
if you have an ant come into your mind, you need to
Mhm.
replace them with purposeful,
Mm.
powerful thoughts.
PPT.
PPT,
Purposeful. Purposeful.
powerful,
Powerful thought.
yes.
Okay. All
So,
right.
even if you
You
don't
know what?
believe it,
I'm gonna improve on that. We've got ants and we've got pets.
pets.
Purposeful, encouraging thoughts.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, there we go. We've got
You're
pets.
smart.
We've got ants and pets. There you
There
go.
you go. I like
Yeah,
pets. Pets are good.
pets are
So,
good. Pets are
pets are
good.
very good. There's pet therapy and everything. So, yeah, this
Yes,
is
it is.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
So, yes, even if you don't believe it, you say it out
yeah.
loud and write it down. Okay. So, it's going to sound weird. You're going to write
Hmm.
something down and say it as you're writing it because then
Okay.
your
Yeah.
brain has to think about it as you're writing it out. Then you're
Hmm.
speaking it. So, your brain works at it in a different place. You're
Yeah.
reading it as you're writing it. So, your brain's working at it in a different place. So
Yep.
all of these different inputs and outputs are happening in different parts of your brain. Write down,
Hmm.
I am beautiful. And if you
Right.
even if you have to say, I am beautiful to my husband,
Yes. Qualified
like,
even
so
that, whatever it takes. Yeah.
that's right. However specific it has to be. Um,
Hmm.
that type of thing. So write down, and every time you have an ant, replace it with a
Hmm.
pet. If you have the time to do it, write down, say it out loud as you're writing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
This is something that, years and years and years ago, I taught a group of young ladies. I was doing a grooming for girls, course with a neighborhood association when I lived in the city.
Okay. Yeah.
And, so along with the grooming, I had the girls, I said, "Your homework this week is to say 3 things good about yourself in the mirror every day. 3 different
That's right.
things every day."
Yeah.
And one of the moms
Yeah.
came to me later and she said, "What are you teaching our girls?" I'm like, "Why? Is it bad?" "No. No, it's good. So I said,
Wonderful.
told her what I was teaching them. She's like, wow, that's really good. And
Fantastic.
this is before I knew the psychology of the 3 versus 1,
Right.
like
Oh, that's fantastic.
it just was one of those things that
Oh,
made sense to me. It just
yeah,
made sense, and I don't
yeah,
know why it did. It just did.
yeah. Yeah,
So
but I have a similar experience in my own in my own experience in my own body. I wear my anxiety on my body in what's called dermatillomania. I scratch at my skin. I scratch myself,
mhm,
and in the depths of my anxiety and the depths of my depressions, I would scratch until I bled, and
yeah,
my legs are took the kind of the worst of it, and my legs are still very deeply scarred because of it.
yeah,
But something, um, something that I kind of adapted for myself. I've never learned this in any kind of therapy or anything, but figured it out. That helps is to look at myself in the mirror and tell that face in the mirror what you want, what she needs to hear.
yes,
Um, Talk to that person in the mirror and tell her that you're sorry. You're sorry she's hurting. You're sorry that you're not protecting her. And then promise to protect her. Promise to make it better.
yep,
Promise to be kind. Talk to that face in the mirror. And
yeah,
that's
dissociate yourself from who you're talking to,
exactly. I'm
and
not talking to myself, but I'm
right,
talking to this person in the mirror, this person who's hurting.
yeah,
And that helped a lot. And to this day, I have nothing here. My legs are okay. They're wound free at the moment, except I shaved my legs the other day.
that's shaving, that's different,
Yeah, that's entirely different.
completely,
But yes, as stress comes and goes, yeah, they'll my legs will take the brunt of it. Had a
yeah,
very it's just inordinately stressful last year and a half.
mhm,
Let's go into that later as well. But Kim understands. I had just indescribably stressful year and a half, and my legs took the damage for it. And
for sure,
the thing is, I understand that, and that's why do I look like this? Why do I keep doing? Because it's stress. What am I stressed? Okay, you're stressed about this. All
yeah,
right. And sometimes, I mean, even just the act of identifying it can put it to rest.
yes.
It's
Well,
it's
one
not
of
even that it's not flying around, floating around, and tormenting you. When you can put a name to it, you can put a finger on it and say, "This is what the problem is." Okay, now I know what the problem is. Now it's not all flying around; it's all settled down, and now we can address.
exactly,
Now
exactly,
we
it's
can
like in
address
Over
that.
the Hedge, where
Yep,
the squirrel is running
yep.
around, like, "It
Mm-hmm.
goes all the way, it goes forever that way, it goes forever that way too.
Yeah.
Well, let's name it Steve. That's not
That's right.
scary." And
That's right.
once the hedge had a name, it wasn't a scary thing anymore.
That's right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
when I
Yeah.
finally had a name for my mental illness, it wasn't
Mhm.
scary anymore. It was something with a
Yeah.
name that could be treated,
Mhm.
and I hadn't
Yeah. My
had that before.
ADHD. Yeah. Yeah. My
Yep.
ADHD as well. When I finally got that diagnosis and put that word on it, there is still a grieving process. I went
Yeah,
through a long,
absolutely.
very deep grieving process,
Oh, yeah.
grieving the life that I had had and grieving the life that I should or could have had, grieving
Yeah.
what my life had become. But at the end of that, it's okay. It's embracing. I have ADHD. This is what has made me the person that I am, for better or for
And you're
worse.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
You're kind of
anytime.
wonderful too.
Yeah,
You're kind of
well, I
wonderful
know.
too. Yeah, I'm just so very, yeah. So I'm very proud of my sister and what she has accomplished, given everything that her life has given her. I'm very proud of what she has done with it, what she's done in spite of it, and what she continues to do. Channels
Thank
like
you.
this channels like this to encourage and nurture other people who may or may not be experiencing, the same upheavals or similar, crises that we have and that we are and that that people do, that
Mhm.
she has you know, taken on the mantle of addressing these things and bringing light to things that have been in the shadows for way too long,
Thank you.
much too
And
long. Very
and I'm
proud.
very proud of my sister as well, and this is just gonna be the Mutual Admiration Society here for a minute.
There you go.
Like, she has been through hell and back more times than anybody should ever have to. And I'm talking more than once, more than, yeah. And from there, she is still compassionate. She is still kind. She is still somebody who looks out for her children. She still looks out for her husband. She still looks out for people. She is her other's keeper, right? And that's what this whole channel is all about, is being my other's keeper, my sisters, my brothers, my mothers, my fathers, my children's, my neighbors. If somebody was stuck on the side of the road, she would stop for them. It's who she is.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that I want to encourage, is you don't have to know somebody to be able to be an encouragement, to be able to respect them, to be able to give them dignity. Like, that's something that that is something that was instilled in us from a very young age, is give people their dignity. Even in the terrible house, even in the dysfunction, even in everything else that we had, we were always taught, you help people. Simple as that. Somebody needs a place to stay. If you have an extra room, let them use your room.
That's right.
If somebody needs food, the best Christmas I remember ever.
Oh,
I know, right?
The airport, right?
The airport.
Yeah. Tell the story.
No, that'll be a different story for a different day.
That'll be a different one. Oh, good.
We need to save some stuff.
Great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. So we will talk about maybe some positive memories and stuff like that on a different on a different thing. But yeah, that it was reaching out to somebody else that made that the best year ever.
Absolutely.
And it had nothing to do with the presents we got. It had nothing to do with our Christmas tree that died 8 times that year. It had nothing to do with, do you remember that?
I forgot about that, I forgot about that.
We were vacuuming needles out of the carpet until July. Anyway, yes. So actually, I think the needles were probably still there.
Probably. Yeah, I would imagine. People always ask, what's the best gift you ever got? I can't think of any one, but I remember that one.
Yeah.
Because of what we gave.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an excellent connection is the way to go. So my sister, I'm going to encourage you, take a look for community organizations and ways you can volunteer, even once a week or once a month.
Okay. Yeah.
And that
and you froze again.
Connection is going to help you. It really the types of things that community organizations could always use.
Yeah.
Whoop. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, you were kind of.
Those are things that community organizations could always use.
Yeah.
So
yes, we can.
Yeah, we both blipped.
We did.
So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap us up. Please like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for all alerts. If you have questions or if you have excuse me, particular comments, feel free to email me at my other's keeper is it was there.
There it is.
There we go. My other's keeper is at gmail.com. At gmail.com. Yeah. Yeah. So please feel free to email me. Give me ideas for topics you'd like to hear. Give us feedback on what we've done. Tell us what we could do better. Tell us what you really liked. And I will share the information with my sister. And yeah, have an awesome day. Thank you, my sissy, for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me. I was very nervous about doing this. I was very nervous about doing this because I don't normally think I have anything interesting or intelligent to say.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that ant. Squash it. Yeah.
All right.
Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.